In the world of music, there are those who simply follow trends and those who forge their own path. Those who push the boundaries and challenge the status quo. Today, we delve into the mind of such artist who created a drop so heavy, so earth-shattering, that it has become the talk of the industry. This artist is me. So, today I'm going to be talking about how I created one of the heaviest drops to date for myself. Creating this drop, it was no easy task. But whenever I finally nailed it, I knew I had something special. Something that would make people feel something. Something that would leave a lasting impact. Well, I'm not going to give away all of my secrets, but I can tell you this. It takes more than just technical skill to get anywhere. It takes drive, creativity, a passion, and a willingness to take risks to get to where you want as an artist or a producer. So buckle up, because today I'm going to take you on the journey of how I created one of my heaviest drops to date. Well, to start, I wanted to talk a little bit about the initial sample I used as kind of the foundation of the track. This sample is pretty important for a lot of different elements throughout the track, so I figured it was a good place to start. This is what it sounds like before I did anything to it. It's really like dark, but also has a lot of really pretty tones going on. So the first thing I did to it was I added OTT, of course. You can really hear how it just adds a lot more to the initial sound. Next, I added a bit of EQ. I wanted to take out a lot of the low end that was happening here. And a lot of the high end, a lot of that crackle I kind of wanted to remove. It sounds a bit muffled, but that's okay for now. The next thing I did to the sample was I added thermal to it. It's really subtle, but it just adds this like extra layer almost. It just widens it out a bit and adds a little bit of warmth, I'd say. Next, I added a bit of a saturator, which does pretty much the same thing I was just kind of explaining with thermal, but in, I think, just a more, I guess, stronger way. Ableton Saturator, a lot of Ableton's just stock plugins are really good for this kind of thing. But yeah, the rest of these, I think I'll talk about here in a second. So that pretty much wraps up what I did for the intro for the sample. Just turning it from this into this. So for our next section here, I ended up resampling this. I added a bass. I think this is just a sample I found on Splice that I'm just using Simpler for, and it sounds a bit like this. The next thing I did to the sample here was I went ahead and resampled it with thermal. I don't know if I kept the thermal that I used to resample this, but this is what this sample sounded like whenever I resampled it. So yeah, it had a super sick like tonal sound to it that I really liked. And so I wanted to kind of go deeper into that. So I went ahead and resampled it again. I kind of extracted more of those tonal sounds. And then I went ahead and added OTT, EQ'd it, more saturation, thermal. And then, of course, the automation on the auto filter to get this. Right, and then the only other element we really have in here are the drums. This is what it sounds like all together. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the section of the video where I'm going to be talking about how I made the drop to this song. It's one of my favorite drops that I've made so far, and it's not fully done, but I wanted to kind of show off how I made kind of the foundation of this drop, you know what I mean? It feels really full, and there's a couple more things I want to do to it as far as sound design goes, maybe add a bit more of a lead to it, but I felt like this what it is right now was worth showing. And hopefully you can learn a thing or two from it. So I guess we'll just go ahead and play it. Before I do that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. If you learned anything here today, be sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you learned. Let me know what kind of things you'd like to see further. And yeah, let's get on with the video. Go ahead and start with just sub bass because that's pretty simple. It's just a serum patch that I made. It's just the analog sine wave and 3 octaves down so I could play a bit higher. And it just has some distortion on it, a compressor EQ with the MG Low 12 filter on it. And that's pretty much it. There's a little bit of clicking in the 808, but it will be fixed. It's actually because of the shaper box that I have on it. That's doing a lot, but that's what's giving it the waves here. I'll open up shaper box so you can kind of see what's happening while it plays. So yeah, that's the 808. Pretty simple. Honestly, I'm probably not even the best one to really even talk about compression because I this I don't know. To me, this doesn't look right, but it sounds right. So that's kind of the lesson, I guess. This is the main sound, the big thing really doing it. In the sound, you can kind of hear it goes 1, 2, 3, hyah. And basically that's like, here, let me see. So 1, 2, 3, and then it like waves up. You can kind of hear how it goes 1, 2, 3, and it waves up. So the thing doing that is just automation on reverb. This is one of the best free reverb plugins called Valhalla Supermassive. It's super popular and it's super great. I highly recommend. But it's just a bit of reverb, and I just automated the wetness on it, as you can see here. The way I got that sound was from resampling the initial sample again. So I basically just took the resample, the final resampling that I did of that first sample, and I chopped it up a little bit and just kind of added a few different rhythmic things that I wanted, swapped a few notes here and there in the audio, and then I added more reverb, more EQ to take out more of the low end and from some of the distortion that was happening. Then I added Shaper Box, which is just a duplicate that's waving with the 808s. So that's how I got those matching on the same. I tried to get them to group here, but grouping it just wasn't working. So just to kind of make it work better, I just gave them both their own individual Shaper Box plugins. That's pretty much it outside of it. It's just the same super heavy tonal sound without the auto filter on it, and chopped up pretty easy. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. Like I said, the sound really isn't done. I'm probably going to end up layering it a bit more with a lead, maybe a few other elements. But yeah, once I do that, for sure. Leave a comment below if you'd like to see a breakdown of the final track once it's finished. And if you haven't already checked out my how to actually sidechain video, that's a huge important piece of this. Sidechaining basically just ducks the kick and snare, or ducks the music behind the kick and snare whenever they hit, so they hit more powerful. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put it like up there in that corner if you're on desktop. But yeah, be sure to check that out if you don't know how to sidechain. But for my drums, what I basically do is I add a drum bus and glue compression. Adding those things really can bring out your drums. There's a ton of great tutorials on what you can do to get these really working to your advantage, I'd say, the most efficient way to use them. If that's something you'd like to see from me, I'd be more than willing. Might be something I do in a future video. But this is kind of what the drum rhythm sounded like. This is what they sounded like in the first section. And then I just changed the drum sample I was using to get a bit more power in the samples. Just a lot harder, you know. That's pretty much the drop. As you can see, there's not a ton going on with it, which I think is a perfect example of, you know, sometimes less is more. Sometimes you don't need a ton of crazy stuff to get really cool things happening. Like I said, I'm probably only going to be adding a few other things here and there, but that'll probably be it for this section of the track. A lot of things that I struggled with whenever I was really kind of growing into myself as an artist was, for some reason, the number of tracks I would use. I felt like I had to use a ton of tracks, and if I wasn't, it was missing something, which, technically that's true, but my response to that now is it's not really about the number of tracks in the song. It's just however many tracks that song needs. You know what I mean? So whenever I'm doing it now, I'll add a track because I feel like it needs something else. So I'll add a new track to it. And then that's kind of how it builds up to just, I guess, larger tracked projects. So if you're having issues with like track size or like how many tracks you have in your projects, don't feel too bad about it. Just continue flowing with the music. You'll naturally add more as you go. And yeah, just let it be a natural process. Don't think too hard about those kinds of things. They're not important, I promise. Anyways, this is what it all sounds like together. I'll just play it from the very beginning. I think that's going to be where I go ahead and end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you in a sec in the outro. And that, my friends, is how I made one of my heaviest drops to date. I hope you enjoyed coming along on this journey with me. And if you want to connect with me and other like-minded producers, be sure to join my Discord server. We share tips, tricks, and give feedback on each other's music. It's a great community, and I'd love to have you be a part of it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. One last thing that I was wanting to mention before we go is that the project file for Entropy, the track that we were just talking about, is on my Patreon. It's going to be for the middle tier Patreon, but there's a lot of different options and a lot of different benefits per tier. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description. It'll have my Discord server, Patreon, and everywhere where you can find my music. So feel free to join the Patreon. A lot of good benefits. You get videos earlier than the regular upload schedule, and it's a great way to support me and what I'm trying to do with music here. So thank you very much. Hope to see you in Discord and see you in the next videos.